governments are going to be able to spy on you. In this new global and digital economy, our money is going to be digital. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the future of CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. This has been on my radar for years. And I actually first saw this concept in practice when I lived in China from 2017 until 2021. Now, this concept in China was far more advanced in China than any other country at the time. However, other countries have started to adopt not only the digital currency, but tracking of its people in different ways. So in this video, we're going to dive into that and how you can see which countries are establishing their CBDCs and which step in the process they are currently in, as well as my thoughts and views on it. Hi, I'm Nicole of Work, Wealth, and Travel. We help you become an optimized global citizen. Whether that means optimizing your tax or optimizing your residency and citizenship structure so that you can become a true diversified global citizen and not be tied to any one country or market, which is exactly what we're going to talk about today and see the potential dangers of being tied to one country. Everything is digitalized, but will only continue to be digitalized in increasing years in the future, in not only your country, but in all countries. So this idea has been around for quite some time, but is really enforced by Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum. And you may know him as famously saying about the middle class, "You will own nothing and be happy about it." Now, I have a different take on that than what he has meant. Now, we all know how he meant this. However, in my global citizen lifestyle, I do own almost nothing. And most of the things that I own are not tangible things that I can touch and feel. They are assets, and they allow me to diversify across multiple markets, which is my version of owning nothing and loving it. However, the World Economic Forum, along with so many countries in the world today, are continuing to test and roll out their CBDC, their central bank digital currency. Now, you may have heard of this before, and it is being touted to the people of the country as a very seamless currency experience. You can have your smartphone. You don't need to carry around cash. Life will be easy for you. You will love it. And this is true from the people's side. And while carrying around cash may be a hassle some of the time, the real reason that the governments are wanting the central bank digital currencies to be rolled out and to be rolled out so quickly is because they're going to be a great tracker for the people within that country. Governments are going to have access to everything that you spend your money on. Previously, governments could get this information, but of course, if you are using a credit card, then that purchase history is going over to the credit card, which I'm not saying cannot be sold. However, it was more difficult for governments to get this information. With CBDCs, it is going to be right there in their back pocket. So although the marketing around CBDCs can be very alluring, they are something to be extremely wary about. Now, my personal first experience of seeing this digitalized currency, and not only currency, but seeing an entire economy digitalized, was when I lived in China. I lived there for 4 years, and right at the end of my time, they started rolling out the idea of the CBDC, which would be linked to their WeChat, which is the everything app in China. I could not think of a single thing, including buying movie tickets, making restaurant reservations on this app. So the government and Tencent are really had access to everyone's data through this one application. However, they have since increased their biometrics, where you can purchase something with a scan on your face or now a scan of your fingerprint. I have friends in China who use this and don't think anything of it. But if you are thinking that this may not be the best tool for governments to have in their back pocket to essentially have full control over you and your life because everything is digital these days, then you're thinking along the right track. So here we have the website cbdctracker.org. If you have not checked it out, I highly recommend going on this website and checking it out. It will show you the status of every country's progression within the development of their CBDC. So if we roll over the US here, we can see that they are in the research phase for all of the different projects that they have. They are researching. They have not been rolled out or launched yet. However, CBDCs have been officially launched in a few countries, Nigeria being one of them. But if we scroll down here, you can see all of the different currencies and the names and what they are going to look like in each country, along with the update rate. So you can see here the US is the most updated. They are looking to really roll that out soon. And so hit subscribe to the channel. I will keep you posted when this does roll out. It's not going to be an if, it is unfortunately going to be a when. So after seeing that and seeing how so many countries in the world, almost every single country is either working on developing or has developed their CBDC and it is already launched to the public in a very few countries, but I'm sure the rest will be rolling out in coming months or years. So now that we can see the realities of CBDCs and see at a first hand how quickly they are truly rolling out in countries around the globe and even rolled out now in some countries, let's talk about my thoughts on CBDCs and cash. If you don't love the idea of being tracked by your government, first of all, there is nothing wrong with you. It is completely okay to not want to be tracked. If you do live in a high-taxing Western country, there are better places to go, and we can help you figure out where that place or places may be by obtaining multiple residencies and citizenships around the globe. And through that, having access to different banking systems. Now, banking is something that I talk a lot about because it is truly so important to be diversified in your bank accounts and in the countries that those accounts are held in. Throughout the CBDC discussion and in going to countries where CBDCs may be rolling out but may not be quite so effective in countries or used in these countries, I have a few thoughts. So if you watched any CBDC videos in the past, one country that always comes up whenever talking to others, talking to colleagues, or hearing others talk about it as well is Mexico. And of course, there are many countries where cash is still king. There are quite a few countries around the globe where it is just easier to use cash over card. So during my time and my stays in Mexico, it's been very interesting to see a local perspective on cash, card, what is used in Mexico. And in my opinion, while cash is still used in not quite every country, but most developing countries that are not Western nations, cash will always be used to a degree. I have found through being with my partner and with my partner's family who are all born and raised in Mexico. A lot of them don't speak English, so it's very interesting to see how the true locals in Mexico live that is not in a place like a Tulum, a Cancun, or a Mexico City, in really a non-tourist destination. And what I have noticed is that while cash is still used just like any other country that I have been, and any country in general in South America, there is increasingly more cards being used. So the Mexican government knows this. They know that just for ease of use, it will be easier for many Mexicans to use the CBDC. I have seen while Mexico is very much so differentiated from America, when you're comparing Mexico to any of the other countries in Latin America, Mexico is much more westernized, and that is also seen through their use of credit cards. For the older demographic, it may look a little bit different, but for the younger demographic, hanging out with locals in Mexico, my partner's friends and cousins, the locals do tend to use card just as often or sometimes more as cash. So I think Mexico is one to look out for. Everybody will always. So if you are interested in how that works in Mexico on the ground, I highly recommend going there, not going to one of the tourist traps, going to an area where there are far less tourists and more locals and getting integrated into the local culture to see what that is like for yourself. If you're in one of the tourist destinations, it may look different. So that is my personal take on Mexico and what the future is going to look like there in terms of CBDCs while having family-in-law on the ground in Mexico. So in the conversation of CBDCs, we have to talk about banking. Now, banking is critical because of course you need to keep your money somewhere, and in your home country or the country where you are born, especially if that is a Western country, may not be the best option. You can keep some money there, whether you're a resident or not a resident. It may depend on if you can and how much money you can keep there. However, I personally recommend in a true global citizen diversification strategy to have as many bank accounts as possible scattered throughout the globe. And this is not only for personal. If you have a business or if you have multiple businesses located in multiple different countries, you want to try to open as many banking accounts with different institutions in that country for your business as well. Quite honestly, you never know what additional documents may be needed, additional documents that you may not have or that may be more difficult for you to get, or when an account can unfortunately just be closed for no reason. I have heard of this happening multiple times, so you want to make sure you have backup options. In talking about having various different banking options around the globe, and I don't mean to pick on Mexico here, but Mexico does have a really great banking system. However, just because a country, and this could be Mexico or any other country around the globe, just because a country has a good banking system doesn't mean that it's somewhere where you want to put all of your money. For example, Mexico has its own issues and you don't know who is looking at your account and who is seeing how much money is in that account. You want to make sure you don't have too much money in Mexico, but also that you don't have too much money in any account around the globe. As part of the 5 flag theory, which I have a video on, and also as part of just a general optimized global citizen structure, you want to ensure that your money is truly safe. And another great example of this is in 2020 during the truckers' protest in Canada, when bank accounts were frozen and a state of emergency was declared for, quite honestly, not a great reason for protests happening in the street. So you never know when a government is going to choose to enforce a law that has never been enforced before that may affect you. So to sum up, what are my thoughts on CBDCs? My thoughts on CBDCs are they are a no-go. If you can avoid them at all means, I would highly recommend to avoid them. It may be inevitable in the future. However, with them just starting to roll out, you can avoid them. Do not enroll in any CBDC programs if they are released in your country, and start thinking about second, third, and fourth options for yourself. If you have even 2 passports, both of those passports may be from Western countries. Maybe one is from a Canada or an America, and one is from a Western Europe. Unfortunately, a lot of these high-taxing, more Western countries tend to follow suit. So a good example of this is the citizenship-based taxation system in the US. Some other high-taxing Western countries have started to think about this type of tax system for their country as well. So what one Western country does not mean that other similar Western countries are not going to do the same thing. You want to think about having diversification options, having multiple residencies, citizenships, bank accounts, tax optimized, of course, in different continents and different societies around the globe. You don't want to diversify just in these high-taxing Western countries alone, because a lot of the rules and regulations are going to follow suit in other similar high-taxing Western countries. If you are interested in learning more and creating your own globally diversified plan for your lifestyle, because no 2 plans look alike, my links are all below. You can book a free 15-minute consult with myself or with my team, and from there, we'll be able to see if we can help you on your path to global citizen optimization, what that may look like for your specific structure and business, and then we will help you implement that on the ground with our teams. Just know there are so many options out there, and just because a few major countries are talked about in the news does not mean that you need to live and pay taxes in those countries. There are 200 different countries around the globe, and you are able to move to those countries, to move your business structure and residency over to those countries and take advantage of those systems. If you have any comments, drop them below. Thank you for joining me in this video, and I'll see you in the next one.